There's a revolution in the works, and Partex, a data-to-drugs digital platform, is at the forefront. With a vision to improve human health and longevity, with a goal to democratize and decentralize data, Partex today is a disruptor and will be at the forefront, heralding a tectonic shift in the global healthcare ecosystem.
A very warm welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow. I'm Ritvika Gupta and you're watching Super Achievers Making New India, powered by VoiceVote. Today we'll be putting the spotlight on the healthcare ecosystem, talking about the significance of data and technology with Partex, a digital pharma company. On the show today, I'll be in conversation with Francisco Fernandez, co-founder and chairman of Partex, and Dr. Gunjan Bharadwaj, co-founder and CEO of Partex. Take a look. Dr. Gunjan, Mr. Fernandez, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure is ours.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I hope to have an interesting conversation with you about the healthcare industry, starting with deciphering what it means to be a digital pharma. So Partex calls itself a digital pharma. Talk to us about what it means and the fundamentals behind setting up this company. Dr. Gunjan, if you would like to go first.
Digital pharma means a data to drugs platform. Instead of looking at a traditional way, how a big pharma model works, looking at a traditional scientific approach using biology and chemistry, we look at the big pharma or the drug discovery and development model primarily using big data and deep tech technologies and looking at all the data that's out there in the world. There are three pillars that build this digital pharma: data, decision making, and drug assets. In terms of data, we are looking at democratizing healthcare, giving the power of the data back into the hands of the patients. In terms of decision making, we leverage the power of artificial intelligence and real world validation. And when we look at drug assets, we are not restricting ourselves to the silos, to the boundaries of one big pharma, one biotech. We look at what would be the best hypothesis in terms of a therapy for any disease. It may be a combination of drugs across the board. We don't restrict ourselves.
Right. Would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we make strong use of artificial intelligence. And although I studied artificial intelligence already 30 years ago, it's relatively new that it's applied at scale. Why is that? Because today we have massive data, network bandwidth, and massive computational power to actually make artificial intelligence work. So I would say that today, to whatever problem we apply AI, it can beat humans. You see that in self-driving cars, in medical diagnosis. You see that in financial or weather forecasting. So you see it everywhere. And that's relatively new. And applying new tools and new methods to any problem usually leads to new solutions. And I hope that we can contribute to the pharmaceutical industry with new solutions traditional pharma methods cannot come up with.
Right. There's this whole conversation about big data impacting industries, manufacturing, retail, education. Talk to us about the significance of data in the healthcare ecosystem.
Data is the new fuel. If you want to leverage artificial intelligence to accelerate drug discovery in terms of getting efficiencies, one single novel drug costs about $4.5 billion over its lifetime, or the entire drug discovery and development value chain. There are over $200 billion spent by Big Pharma alone on research and development, and you just have round about 50 novel drugs approved. 90% of clinical studies fail, and most of them fail not because the drugs are not efficacious, they fail because they are not able to recruit patients in time. Data is more significant than ever because with artificial intelligence you can address many of these problems and not only gain efficiencies in the entire discovery and development process, but also accelerate innovation. But the fundamental challenge with data is it's siloed, but also the incentives are not placed right. We talk about patients being at the center of the industry, and the industry has been talking about it. But when it comes to the data that patients produce, we start singing the songs of philanthropy. Oh, data should be donated because data would help us get new discoveries, new drugs for similar patients. But when you get to physicians, hospitals, IDNs, big pharmas, drugs, people forget philanthropy. Why should patients that create this data just give away, donate this data? Why shouldn't the real value, the lion's share of value of that data, get back to patients? And that's what we are trying to change.
Right. So you did touch upon artificial intelligence. It has become an essential tool. Talk to us about how Partex is using data to scale up AI. If you want to take that.
Again, every artificial intelligence needs to be heavily trained. Artificial intelligence is unlike classical programming, deterministic, that you have to tell the computer what to do. If this, then do that, else do something else. You build kind of structures, and then the system will learn by itself, but it needs to be trained, and it is usually trained by data. So the more diverse data sets, the more volume of data you have combined with high quality data, the better the system learns and creates better results. So you need, on one hand, experts that are watching the machine and training the machine and telling the machine when the output is not good. So training an artificial intelligence is very much like teaching children. You give them good examples, good data, and then you watch the behavior, the outcome, and if it's good, you say, well done. If not, no. And that's a similar loop, of course, very much simplified, how you train artificial intelligence. So we have put together the largest search graph, the largest ontology of the industry, collecting since 4 or 5 years massively all public data from hospitals, and finally data from patients, which are the most valuable data because it's curated data. Nevertheless, we have to get it, pull it, clean it, harmonize the data to train the machine with proper data. So that's what we've been doing, and the paradigm shift is, again, we have been used by big tech that we just use your data for free. So the only guys monetizing the big data is the big tech companies. While I call that, modern slavery, having 4 billion users that create digital content the whole year for you, and you monetize it as big tech and don't give me as provider, as creator of that digital content, zero. We change that paradigm by licensing data from the user and monetize. If we monetize, we give the majority back to the owner, to the original owner of the data, in this case, the patient or the hospital.
Right. Dr. Gunjan would like to add to that?
Absolutely. Francisco already alluded to the fact that you need a high variability of data, volumes of data to train AI better. And the fundamental challenge with data when it comes to proprietary data has been, as he said, big tech and some of the annotation companies just taking data away in the garb of anonymizing, not providing back the incentives to the creators, producers of this data. Every regulation in the world mandates explicit consent. And we say explicit consent at the same time with some other regulations is not actually needed because you should anonymize the data that you get. So it's a license to rob people away of their data. We say that's not the future. The future is decentralized, democratized, and hence if a patient creates data in lieu of his ailment, his sickness, his disease, he or she should get the lion's share of the value of that data. And that's what we have created.
So at this point, I also want to talk about blockchain technology that is believed to, solve a lot of problems in the healthcare system. If you can, for our viewers, simplify what blockchain technology is and how can stakeholders really capitalize on this technology to, generate better insights and outcomes. Dr. Kunjan, if you like to add to that.
Blockchain is a technology which is probably more disruptive than AI itself. And unfortunately, because blockchain is always understood or talked about together with the cryptocurrencies, the very essence of blockchain is sometimes severely undermined. If you want to create a decentralized platform which is trustless, you do not have to trust Partex as a patient. You do not have to trust a government. You do not have to trust a large hospital or hospital network. You can create a marketplace, a platform which is tamper-proof, wherein if you upload your data and the summary of that data is hashed and kept in a marketplace, no one can tinker with that. If you do any changes, then they are visible and transparent to everyone. And blockchain has a number of use cases in healthcare. It has been applied on the supply chain side in manufacturing. We are looking at combining blockchain and artificial intelligence to create or to roll out the world's largest data exchange.
All right. Mr. Fernandez?
It was not a coincidence that blockchain came together with its first use case, which was Bitcoin, a currency, exactly when the world has created the largest financial crisis of humanity, where we destroyed $55 trillion in 2008, 2009. And politicians got used to print money, print massive money. For every crisis, the first reaction is print money, because when you print money, you can start rescuing companies or whatever and postpone the problem for next generations to solve, which is kind of unfair. If you have children, you don't want them to pay the bill for our mistakes. So Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that is, invented this blockchain, which is the biggest novelty of that was actually decentralized powers.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching our special series, Super Achievers Making New India, powered by VoiceWhat. And I'm in conversation today with digital pharma company Partex. And in this segment, we talk about Partex's vision for India and long-term growth. Listen in. Tell us, how important is the Indian market for your global business?
As I mentioned several times last week, I fell in love with India in general, not only as a country to do business in, but also culturally. I love to work with young people, young talents. I think I can help them to learn from my experience. They can help me to learn from the newest technologies, scientific approaches as well as. And while at the beginning these Eastern countries are just executors and copiers, they learn and they become the leaders of tomorrow. And that's my bet, that especially India, having invested very early in IT and software technologies, are becoming the leader. Because software is eating the world. Artificial intelligence, we were talking about, is the next big thing, the next big technology. And Indian people, Indian young talents master these technologies. So I'm happy to be able to move and shake up things with making use of these technologies through Indian talents and take the lead over here.
Fantastic. Dr. Gunjan, give us an overview of the overall healthcare system in India, and what is your long-term vision for Partex in India and your strategy towards achieving it?
See, India's biggest challenge is access to health. We have 1.4 billion people, and in access to health, I would look at three challenges under access to health. First is awareness. We have a number of people, and we have done screening camps or supported screening camps in breast cancer in Indian villages in different states of India. People are just not aware. And you have primary healthcare centers, which are, and now the current government is doing some tremendous work in telemedicine and bringing all the PHCs on the national grid. But how come a PHC physician understand all the life-threatening diseases? The knowledge that is held with centers of national importance, some of these specialty centers in tier 1 or tier 2 cities, is not disseminated. And mind you, in disease areas such as cancer, the false diagnosis rate in the Western world is significantly high. So imagine what would be the case for India. We have very few registered oncologists in a country of 1.4 billion. So awareness is key. We need to disseminate qualified information that is key, that patients should know. And not just in terms of treatment options or who is a specialist, and but also prevention. So that's number one. The second challenge is last mile healthcare delivery. And I believe there too it's connected to awareness. Unless you make people aware, why would they actually demand? And we have looked at panel of tests under NRHM. We look at fundamental challenges like hypothyroidism, anemia, etc. We are not collecting data. Unless you collect data, how would you know what the demand is? So we have to create that infrastructure. And third, which is the most important challenge, is affordability. We have around 90% out of pocket in India, and we are talking about increasing the insurance coverage. But we see 100% blank check health insurance coverage doesn't work, because you can't just keep on paying very expensive therapies to all the citizens. And that's where we believe the approach, wherein if data is the fuel for AI and AI is the engine for drug discovery and development of tomorrow, why not assign value to that data and provide this value, this lion's share of value, back to the patients?
Right. As we wrap up this conversation, talk to us about some of the trends that you are perhaps excited about in the healthcare industry. You've already touched upon AI and blockchain, but if there's anything else you'd like to add to, maybe we'll begin with you.
And then in general, what are the mega trends I invest in? I run 10 companies, and I'm not only an investor, I'm also an entrepreneur, that I like to create companies and manage the companies. But the mega trends I'm following is that artificial intelligence is catching up very quickly, potentially replacing brain jobs. When we invented the steam engine or the combustion engine, we were replacing muscle force. Now we are more and more replacing brain force. So-called white-collar jobs, accountants, lawyers, even in the medical space. And this could lead that in 1 or 2 decades, our working day will not be 12 hours anymore, but 3 to 4. So what do you do in the rest of your day? And I think art, sports, and entertainment. So I will be here with 3 companies, the Partex Group, Innoplexus, taking care of the health of millions of patients, curing uncurable diseases, feed the planet through my company Innoterra, and entertain people in the newly spare time they won through Racing Unleashed. And all the 3 are led by Indians.
That's very interesting. Looking forward, your thoughts?
So I see with COVID there are 3 changes, 3 trends that have been triggered. In 2019, a law was repealed that allows consultation by physicians in India. Before that, it was not even allowed. So we see telemedicine and digitization of healthcare delivery picking up extremely fast. Second is collaboration. And we can see that in terms of the accelerated pace with which many vaccines actually were approved or got market authorization. People have started to look at co-opetition, that you can work together with your competitors, specifically in specific therapeutic areas or drug discovery programs. And third is, of course, artificial intelligence. You see AI powering drug discovery programs. We have over 35, 40 partners with who we work together with on various diseases, looking at antibodies, small molecules, etc. So AI, digitization of healthcare delivery has picked up extremely fast. What we also see is a higher level of awareness. COVID has made people aware, and they know health is extremely important. And with this awareness, we also see a trend also in the Western world where alternative medicinal systems are more appreciated. Our Honorable Prime Minister has given a tremendous and a fantastic push, positive push to Ayurveda. And Ayurveda is now accepted in many countries as a traditional alternative medicinal system. We see something similar happening with traditional Chinese medicine. If you look at some of the IPOs in clinical depression, etc., in NASDAQ, there are extracts that were first mentioned in traditional Chinese medicine. And I think that's a very positive trend. So not just looking at a silo of what in India you would call an allopathic medicinal system, but opening yourself up and looking at other alternative medicinal systems.
Nice. Well, that was really insightful. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Thank you.
On that note, it's a wrap on today's edition. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you and goodbye.